If you're ready, then I'm ready. Let's get it.
Let's wing it. Let's go.
Hey, hey, everybody. Welcome to Steve Coupers Podcast for aspiring real estate investors. In each episode, we connect with seasoned investors and industry subject matter experts who are eager to share their tips and tricks and what we need to do to succeed in this business of real estate investing. Now, before I go too far, I'd like to remind everybody, please hit the subscribe button, the like button, share this video, add comments, please use it and make sure it gets sent around to your network. Anyhow, back on track. So today is a really great day. I'm really stoked. I got to invite one of my friends to come and join me on Steve Cooper's podcast today. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet Fritzie Villegas. I probably pronounced that wrong. And so Fritzie is a registered nurse. She is a full-time real estate investor, full-time mother, full-time nurse, an amazing woman. And I'm so excited to have you here and talk about your story and get to share you with all of these people out there. So welcome, Fritzie.
Thank you, Steve. And yeah, thank you for taking the time to be here tonight with me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm super happy to have you here. Fritzie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story? So how did you get into this business? Tell us about yourself.
Okay, so let's start when I arrived in Canada. So actually, when I was growing up. So when I was growing up around 12, my mom decided to come to Canada. I stayed in the Philippines until I finished my nursing degree and my master's degree. And then finally I was like, okay, now I'm ready to go to Canada. So I arrived here in 2013. Late 2013 was the middle of winter in Toronto. It was cold and it's a shock because of the temperature. It was in the middle of winter. And after the airport, I moved into my parents' place, which was a two bedroom, one bath apartment suite in Toronto. And so while staying there, after a few months, I asked my mom, I was like, you've been here for like more than 10 years. Have you thought about buying a house? And at that time, she told me she's already given up on that Canadian dream because she had responsibilities to support me when I was in the Philippines, as well as her parents in the Philippines. So for her to have that cushion, she didn't want to take the risk because a mortgage is a liability. So fast forward, we were invited at a family friend's house and they just bought a house, a primary home. So I started asking them, oh, so how are you able to like save up? And then they talked about the first time home buyers fund. And I was like, oh, 5%. So I was doing the math. I love math. And I did some more research and I was like, okay, I can do that. I can do this. By the way, when I moved to Canada, I was already a registered nurse. However, it took some time for me to be licensed here. It took me 4 years. So before that, I was working at a coffee shop and at a hospital kitchen as a like having a low salary, but I was good at saving up. So I saved up for 4 years. Then finally I have like that money. And I asked my mom, are you interested to buy a house? Because I will gift this to you guys, right? Because I really wanted to buy a place for myself. However, value wise, I'm not comfortable when buying my own if my parents are still renting. So I offered it to my mom. I explained it to her and she agreed to it. So she bought her house. That same year, I got my nursing license and I bought my first condo unit for myself. So that's how I started. And then a year after, I realized in Toronto how much their property has appreciated. I was like, wow, even though I save up my salary, I'm never gonna match that equity in Ontario before, right? So that was an eye opener for me.
So much truth to this. There is a power in real estate that most people, um, well, many people fail to grasp, but it's a real game changer. And when you turn that approach of home ownership into something that's more about investing, that takes it to a new level. So how did you find out about real estate investing more than just home ownership? When did that change for you?
Okay, so I bought my first place in 2019. And then 2020, the pandemic happened. And as a nurse, I was so burned out in Ontario, and I've always been wanted to do northern nursing in the territories, meaning Nunavut and Northwest. So I was like, okay, I think I want to try this out because like this is the time. So that time, that's where I explored, okay, if I'm gonna move out of my place, I need somebody to pay it for me. And that's where I started renting it out and managing it myself.
Nice.
So while I was in Nunavut, I was still working as a full-time nurse. And then I stayed there for 2 years. And that's where I realized, okay, somebody's paying it for me. I was reading more and more about real estate. And while I was saving up north, I actually invested in Calgary. And from there, my curiosity just grew.
That's so I gotta say, first off, like you're from the Philippines, which is like a fairly warm climate, and you find yourself in Inuit. There's something a little bit off there. That must have been a bit of a shock for you.
Yeah, but I'm gonna give you a trivia. Anything that's past minus 30 degrees, your body wouldn't even tell the difference.
Uh, I'll tell
So
you, I'll ask you a trivia. Do you know the difference between minus 40 Fahrenheit and minus 40 Celsius?
no.
There is none. They're the same. That's where the thermometers match.
Okay. I didn't wanna na guess because I was like, I heard that, but I don't know what it was. But that's a good trivia. Okay, minus so 40, positive
Minus
40.
40. Edmonton sees minus 40 quite regularly. I happen to remember it. Anyhow. So Fritzie, so you've started to explore into real estate investing. I mean, you're coming from what I'll call the same, humble backgrounds we all do. We're working hard, we're putting money aside, trying to find our dreams, and now you're a real estate investor. Let's talk a little bit more about what you've done to actually step that game up and become a professional investor.
So after we bought that property, we moved here in Saskatchewan, and I actually just gave birth to I have a set of twins, a boy and a girl. They're two now. But at that time, I was on maternity and I was like, okay, like I really want to do this. Like I really want to be good at it because at the pace that I was doing it at that time, I feel like I'm like at my end, right? Like at my cap. That's all I could do. Like I don't have the time anymore to go on YouTube. So and watch all of the vlogs and every resource. Like I can't keep up with that. So at that time I was like maybe it's time to invest in myself and I started looking for mentors. So from referrals from other nurses and like just scrolling on like researching on social media and on the internet, I found my first mentor. And at that time, yeah, that's when I really took it seriously because I was like, okay, this time there's somebody who's going to lead me who's 30 years ahead of me. So I didn't feel scared.
Research people, find out who you feel you can trust, and subscribe to what they're selling so you can actually learn how to develop these skills yourself. It's great.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we're hardworking people coming and putting time in every day, and yet now you're a professional real estate investor as well as a hardworking nurse. And I understand that you don't want to give up nursing.
Yeah, I actually like I know most people would like to retire, but for me personally, I love what we do as nurses.
Okay.
However, doing shift work takes away time from my family. And the reality is with nurses, even though we want to go on vacation, if our facility is short staffed, like we don't get approved vacation, right? So I just want it on my own terms. That's my goal. Like I just want to work on my own terms and I still want to do nursing as long as I can.
There's so many people that I've met as an investor, so many people from the healthcare industry that I've bumped into that are now exploring real estate investing. They've come through COVID, they've worked excessive hours, they've really they're tired of these long shifts, and they're trying to find an escape, and they're succeeding in this field of real estate investing. I think it's a great story. I really do.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So tell me about your investments. What do you got going on?
So right now we've actually last year actually we started investing. So at first we focused on residential, like residential properties. And then last year we decided to invest in multifamily. So that's our first investment in multifamily. And then this month, actually, at the beginning of the month, we just closed on another property here in Regina, which is a duplex.
Nice. So good for you. So very, I mean, that's a lot going on. Once again, you're still full-time nurse,
Yeah.
full-time mother, full-time real estate investor, and still finding time to talk to me. I'm honored.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel honored talking to you. So thank you, Steve.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things we need to consider as investors, and you've put some time into trying to learn them all. But how are you approaching risk management, for instance, as we see this roller coaster of an economy? What are you thinking?
I think, and I've been talking about this, I think one of the most important thing for an investor is to know their risk tolerance, right? That is my gauge. Like if you ask me maybe 5 years ago, when I didn't have kids, my risk tolerance was way up here.
Yeah.
Now that I have kids, it's like a lot more conservative with the risk that I take. So at the end of the day, I don't put all my eggs in one basket. I like having some cushion, even with like properties. I make sure there's cushion because
Christian helps you weather the rough roads that may lie ahead. I mean, it's always there's always going to be upside at the end of the drive. It's a matter of making all the drive, right? Being able to get from point A to B without all of the things that want to derail you along the way to succeeding. Um, Okay, so I mean, in as investors, we not only research and buy properties, but we're in the process always of raising capital and trying to get help others invest as well, right? That's one of the bigger challenges for a lot of people. And boy, I've seen your face out there a lot lately. You're doing great on social media. How's that working? And what are you finding is a winning kind of recipe? And tell me about that.
Um, I found out for the last 2 years. So I started educating myself 2 years ago. I was very private. Believe it or not, you wouldn't even find my face if you go through my social media before that. But I think the major key for doing this is I just wanted to be authentic and show my true self. Like whatever you see, that's what you see is what you get. And I think I found that the most effective for me because I always think about if my audience is my old self, what would I want to hear? What would I want to see?
Yeah, no, absolutely. They want the real you, and I think you're doing great. I really do.
Thank you.
Um, so we've got a plan ahead. What are you thinking you're going to do next? Like, what's the next property in the line?
So right now we're still keeping an eye on residential properties and multifamily buildings. So for me, I'm focusing in Alberta, Edmonton, Alberta, and more on Saskatchewan, Regina, Saskatchewan.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit closer to home than it is for me. A great
Yes.
big mountain range in the way. And why are those areas? Why do these appeal to you?
I love those areas because first I had experience with Ontario and
Yeah,
with the Tenancy Act there, we all know that it's not as owner friendly, right? I don't want to use landlord because people get offended, but it's like owner friendly,
yeah,
right? But for Alberta and Saskatchewan, what's good about them is yeah, it's more friendly here. The like tenants and the owners actually have comparable rights as long as they do their roles and responsibilities, right?
I love it. Yeah. I think this is fair and it self-regulates when you don't have government interference with it. I think that's another important thing, right? And all for all the best meaning or best intentions, I think that the a lot of the policies we see actually don't they're not effective. They don't regulate the industries very well, and they allow for one side or the other to be a winner instead of for finding a happy solution for all. And like you say, I mean, we're well, I like to call us rental housing providers, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to provide safe, comfortable places for people to live.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, so we've talked about a number of different subjects, and I recognize that I'm bouncing you around all over the place,
Don't worry.
but you know, so you're very young. You've got a lot of runway ahead. You're going to be an incredible have an incredible portfolio by the time you're done. You're done. What do you thinking that strategy is going to look like? Is it going to be a buy and hold and collect hundreds of homes, or what do you think?
You got it, Steve. That is the goal. Long term, very, very long term buy and hold.
That's great.
And I know a lot of people have been exploring different options, but I needed to be real, right? As a full-time nurse, if I needed to keep that, unfortunately, I don't have the luxury of time.
Yeah.
I already know for the last year, I've realized that I don't have the time to flip. So that's out of the window or the door, right? So for me, long-term buy and hold is our strategy. And we'll see. I think I have, as you said, I have the advantage of time. So I'm a patient person.
Well, good on you. I wish that I'd started at your age. It would have made the world of difference. But we've all got our own road to follow. I'm quite happy and content with mine. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. It's one of the reasons that I'm so pleased with this is the people I get to meet and the people I get to work with. I find that in this business, we're all interested in each other's success. We're all collaborating and helping each other succeed, and we're all working hard to make sure that we're de-risking these investments to make sure that we're looking after each other's investments as much as.
Exactly. And that's what I found, that's what I found really helpful that I appreciate in the communities that are in, is that abundance mindset that you talked about. And the people are so everyone's just supportive that if you have a deal, maybe you can ask like 10 people in 1 minute to like check your deal, right? Like everyone's just so open-minded to help out. Like it's a very good community. So I'm
It's
very
wonderful. Yeah, I really love it. I'm finding it more and more so. The people I'm getting to talk to are so authentic, and very very supportive of each other, and that's the beauty of this industry. And you know, you're a big contributor to that, right? I love the comments we share back and forth as we grow. So
thank you.
um, you know, I think it's fairly easy to try and assume I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask you nonetheless. So what is your why? What is it that's moving you to do what you're doing? I mean, I recognize the start of the story. Your story's changed with your family situation over time. What is your why now, and what are your goals, and what do you think success looks like? What is it going to be for you?
Um, so okay, that is I really okay, what's my why? So going back to my story earlier, my why is my kids and my family right now. I grew up, as I said, I was in the Philippines. My mom and my parents were in Canada. They've actually missed a lot of milestones of me like growing up. So now that I have a family of my own, I want to have that time to spend with my kids, that quality time of having to choose when I want to spend time with them and spend as much time as I can with them. And that's the goal. So in the future, for me, my goal is to be content because happiness is something that's short-lived. For me, being content is living and working at my own terms and spending as much time with my kids for them to have a better life than what I have right now. I have a good life thanks to my parents, but I hope I can give them a better life with more opportunities.
I think you've looked after your parents too, from the sounds of it. So family is very important to you, clearly. That's a beautiful thing. A lot of North American families don't have that sense of connection that you're talking about. I think it's beautiful. Um, okay, well let's explore this a little bit further. So, um, there's going to come a point where you've got all the time in the world with your kids. You've got you're not hurting for time because it's at your disposal. You've got that in the very near future. You'll have that. What do you think is going to be next?
With my
Your why?
aspect of
How's
with
your why? How's your why going to evolve? I wonder.
I want to get rid of my night shifts.
Yeah. Okay.
That's how it's gonna like I want to work 9 to 5, no weekends, hopefully. And that's I'm doing some stuff right now to go towards that like to reach that why. And yeah, like I just want more time with my kids and spend time, right? With family and friends, not miss out. My family's everywhere in Canada. Like my in-laws are in New Brunswick. My parents are in Ontario. So the luxury of being able to fly out around the country to spend time with them, that's the dream. That's the
That'll be
vision.
very cool. Hey, so you got so much going on. You're a full-time mother, full-time nurse, full-time real estate investor. And what is it you do to inspire you to get to fill your energy to be able to accomplish all this? How do you start your day in order to be successful?
I am a master of lists and I love time management. I think one of the edge of being a nurse is we're very task oriented and we love allotting time on each task, like on a shift, right? So also I've read this book by Dan Martell by Back Your Time, and there was a concept called time blocking.
Love
So
time.
so it's like magic. I was like, wow, that's what you call it. Like people have been doing it, but that makes more sense. Like so I started doing that more last year in a more structured way. And honestly, my life had been better because I don't know if you experienced this, but as we learn in real estate, we attend different classes multiple times a week. And unfortunately, I realized last year that, okay, I'm doing this because I have a goal. However, it's defeating the purpose of my why, which is to spend time with my family because it's
So,
taking so much time.
so very true. The irony is huge.
It's a double-edged sword, right? So I was like, okay, my why is to spend time with my family, but I'm doing the opposite right now. It doesn't make sense. So I started applying this first in a sense that the things that bring me joy, like my family, those big things that are most important to me, I allot them the time first. So they take the first spot on my calendar and then I just work around it. So that's how I manage it. I wake up early. Like I'm a early riser. I wake up at 4:30 every morning because that's the quiet time at my house.
Okay, well, we've been divulging secrets and sharing notes back and forth. I wake up at 4.
Wow.
4 o'clock. I have a cup of coffee, sit down and get my head straight, and then I start into my first 30-minute time block is from 4 to 4:30, and then it's go, go, go. So,
Yeah, and at first it's hard, right? Like, but I needed that time because once my kids are up, then it's like
yeah,
the I don't know, the happy side of like it's a noisy house.
yeah.
It's a nice home. So I was like, okay, I have to be present and I make sure from time to time my wife would still call me out, which is the reality. But I try to, I'm very self-conscious and self-aware
Yeah.
that I try to like catch that because I don't want to fall on that side because they're my why.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. That's awesome, Fritzie. Hey, so if somebody wants to reach out and get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
so best way would be on social media, Facebook and Instagram. And that is my, I don't know if they're gonna see it, but they can follow me at Fritz Villegas at in Instagram and on Facebook. Like right there.
Right there. Well, so I see it. I can see it right now in the bottom left corner. There you are. Fritzie, it's been a huge pleasure having you join me today. I thank you so very much. Have you got any last words for everybody?
Um, I hope that whoever's gonna listen to this finds my story inspiring for them to get started. Because um as you said earlier before we recorded this, like we are full-time employees and we're just making ways to get out of our comfort zone to to reach our goals, right? So if I can do it, you can do it, other people can do it. It just takes one step every single day.
We don't need to come from riches. We don't need to come from fame. Everybody can do this. You just need to be willing to put in the time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me, Fritzie. It's been a huge pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Have a good evening.
Have a great evening.